Hi, good evening. How you doing? It's Jim from Mavstar. Going to show you a couple of little things that we're going to be experimenting with over the next few weeks. I say a few weeks because we're waiting for some other components that we're going to need. I found a cheaper way of building the next hydrogen generator. One of these. This is the one that we had the best results out of. I know there's an air pump on there, but we're not using. But the reason why we included the air pump is because I watched a video on YouTube, and some guy seemed to think by just injecting more air into the electrolysis process would give you, more gas. But it's not that I didn't know that this wouldn't work, but it's nice to show you guys that it doesn't work. We've just got a couple of buck converters on the top of there as well to reduce the power to the air pump. And we can crank the air pump down as low as we want or as high as we want. And the other one was running the coil, sorry, not the coil, the two electrodes that we got, the positive and negative. But then we disconnected the buck converter from there, if you remember this one, and we just tapped these two wires that go to the electrodes down there in the tank and ran that straight to the frequency generator. And we found that, over a range of 1 gigahertz to 0, 42 hertz was probably the best. So, because of the cost of the plates, £8 something each, and we needed around 40 for a reasonable generator, I thought, let's just put it on the back burner for a bit. And then, whilst having a shave this morning in the bathroom, I'm looking at the razor, I'm thinking, they don't go rusty, do they, these razor blades? But do you remember the old razor blades that your grandpa used to use? You'd screw the thing and it'd open up 2 little doors, you could put the new blade in. I thought, can we still buy them? Anyhow, we can. But I've had to order them from, it was either 2 places, India or America. And I thought I'd give my friends over in the States the money than, give it to, some guy in India. I'm sorry. But, anyhow, we've got 100 blades. Now, this can build a small, probably a bit bigger than this, hydrogen oxygen generator. And it doesn't have to be big at this point. We can always scale up. The point is about all this is that we are just experimenting with different processes to see what gives better yields of those 2 gases. Now, we asked, didn't we, the artificial intelligence about the frequency, which would be the best frequency to use if we was using that in the terms of electrolysis, and it wouldn't give us one. Depending on the apparatus that you used, it found different ones were better. Well, we know that with that apparatus that we've got, 42 hertz is the best, and it might change slightly with different setups, but that's okay, because what we're trying to do at this point is just learn about what helps the process of splitting the water molecule at this point in time without using too much energy. Now at 42 hertz, we're probably just about, producing about or using around 6 amps at 3 volts, which is not a lot. Solar panels could do that. The good thing about that is we could put that generator right there now on a solar panel, just leave it for the whole week, and you know what, you might be able to get enough to cook 1 meal on a gas burner of hydrogen and oxygen. We could separate the gases, which would make it even safer to use. And yes, I am aware of these biodigesters that people are using in some of the poorest countries around the world, where they put all their garbage in, some of their other products in there, and it digests, and then over a period of time it gives them a cooking range of gas for a certain amount of minutes, or maybe an hour or so, who knows. But obviously it all depends on, with biodigesters, the temperature, the actual bacteria that's in there that's breaking it down, if it's running at its maximum. There's lots of variables, and even those things can be tricky to use. But the good thing about, in foreign countries, they've usually got a higher climate and temperature than us, and so these biodigesters will work better in these countries, whereas in countries like the UK, some parts of America and Canada and other European countries, we have a moderate summer, so it might only be beneficial in the summer. But these hydrogen and oxygen generators, it doesn't really matter so long as you've got, you know, if you've got a solar panel, you've got good sunlight hitting that in the day, it will be producing gas. And if you could just dedicate one solar panel, one 200-watt solar panel to constantly, you know, be creating hydrogen and oxygen for you, there's a fuel source that is free, pretty much, apart from the initial outlay. So we're not finished. There are other experiments. Now, I saw something and I thought, I wonder, you know, you get one of those light bulb moments, and I thought, well, okay, let's order a couple. So what I've ordered, because they're only cheap, are these atomizers, and they run on what we've been using this week. You know, we've been looking at piezo's or transducers, these things. And obviously, you know, if you squeeze a transducer, you get it to light the LED up. But there's a different type of transducer in a atomizer. I'm going to show you what atomizers do. This is the piezo or the transducer in an atomizer. And you can buy these relatively cheap on eBay. You know, I think I paid £8 for 6 of them. And I've got one set up here for you, and I can show you what you'll get in your kit if you want to buy one. But why? Oh, let me show you it running first. So, okay. Let me just because it's doing something. So we're still recording. That's good. So here's the piezo all connected up. What you'll get for your money is one of these, which is the USB power board. You'll get one of those, which is a transducer, a housing to hold it in, and something to hold the water in a little tube. And I'll just switch this on. You can see we get, you know, a reasonably good cloud of water mist. Now, I know there's going to be problems with this water mist. It's quite interesting to play with. You could use it as a humidifier. You know, if you wanted to put some more moisture in the air, you could easily just leave it at that. Well, like I've got ordinary water connected up to a USB pipe and line, should I say, and it just produces this water mist. But what I want to do is put that in an electrostatic field and then try with different frequencies, and also with our new razor blade hydrogen oxygen generator, see if by, you know, separating the water molecules into mist, they are a little bit further away than what they're in when they're in a liquid form. They would be even further away if we heated them up in steam. Now, I want to tell you something about this. This is not rocket science, and this is not reinventing the wheel. There's a guy who knows how to do this already, how to produce. In fact, his method is very simple. You put the electrolytes in the water, and he's using salt. In fact, it's even cruder than that, guys. He's got an estuary at the back of his house, and he goes out, or the reporter goes out to the back of his house, scoops up some water in a jug, and this doctor, I think he is, because he was looking at the lines of trying to cure cancer with X-rays, targeted X-rays, putting certain metals in the body that cling to cancer cells, and then bombarding it with radio waves to damage the cancer cells. But he put this salt water in a test tube in front of the X-ray machine and then lit it, and it just caught fire. The water caught fire because if you look at the spectrum of frequency, when you go down to X-rays, you're at the atomic scale. The frequency size or modulation is at the same size as the atoms themselves. So frequency starts off with radio waves and goes all the way down to, well, you've got ultraviolet, and you've got the visible spectrum, you've got infrared, and then right at the end you start going down to the small ones, which are X-rays and then gamma rays. You know, when you get to gamma rays, you are talking smaller than the atoms themselves. So it's no rocket science. What really went on, and he worked it out, and I'm pretty sure he worked out what was going on when he understood that obviously I've just put this in front of an X-ray machine, and it's altered the property of the atoms in the water. In other words, it shook them apart that much that it separated the oxygen and the hydrogen. You know, there's lots of ways, let me just turn this off, there's lots of ways you can skin the rat. But the problem is with this, using X-rays to break down or alter the water molecules is a very expensive way of doing it, and therefore there's no point going any further with that. That's why, you know, I didn't want to keep going high up the end of the frequency ranges, because, you know, the higher you go up there, you've got to start then increasing the amplification of that frequency so it actually does something, because it goes out of the range, I think, after about 1 kilohertz or about 9 kilohertz or 10 kilohertz. It goes out the range of the human hearing, so you can't even hear it. But it doesn't mean that it still isn't there and vibrating at that frequency. The signal generator will go up to a gigahertz, but you won't hear a gigahertz. Even if I crank it up to as many amps as I can put out with that amplifier, you still won't hear it. And the only way you're going to know that something's there is by introducing a coil and a magnetic field there, so that you can physically see that it's doing something. Just to give you an idea, these atomizers are operating on 108 kilohertz. So that's quite a lot. You know, the frequency is quite high, but it doesn't require too much frequency to get water into an atom. You know, using one of these special transducers doesn't require a lot of energy to do it. And in fact, the energy that's being required is less than 5 volts and less than 2 amps to do it. And you get a good cloud of atomization of water. So what I want to do, I want to try using electrolysis. Now I know, and some of you are smart out there, you already worked out we've got a problem here. We've separated the water from a liquid into like a dry mist or a wet mist. It's still water droplets, but they're further apart than what they was when they was in the water, because they've got a lot of air molecules now in them. Now, I know a way of creating ion wind. Now maybe we can get an effect by putting it first of all, or introducing it into electrolysis, and then the ionized area, so there's plenty of free ions there for him to, you know, help with the separation of oxygen and the hydrogen molecule. I'll just give you another example of how we can do this. I can put sodium metal into water. As soon as I do that, it does burst into flames sometimes, but it can just sit there on the water going sss. But what's happening is the sodium is connecting with the oxygen, and the hydrogen gas is coming off, and you can light that. So we can add things to water, and you know, if they've got a more attractive, if they've got more of an attraction to the oxygen molecule, it will break the oxygen molecule away from the hydrogen, freeing up that hydrogen gas. We can use the hydrogen gas to burn, or we could use arc welding rods. You know, carbon arc welding rods in water. We submerge the rods into the water and we bring the ampage up. Again, this is a bad way of creating gas. It's a costly way of creating gas, because when you start using 80 and 100 amps in a water solution and you're creating an arc of plasma in the water, you know, that's coming at a great cost. It does produce gas. What gas you get when you put these carbon rods using your arc welder, let's say, into you know, just ordinary water, you will get the carbon molecules break down. They will attach themselves to the oxygen, giving you carbon monoxide, and then you'll release the hydrogen atom off of the water molecule or the oxygen molecule, and you'll have hydrogen gas. So you'll have carbon monoxide gas and hydrogen gas, and they both burn together. You can collect them two gases and burn them quite, you know, as easy together. I'm not sure whether you stand a big chance of having carbon monoxide poisoning through burning that gas, because, you know, at the end of the day, if that was a big concern, you could always get a carbon monoxide detector or just use the gas for cooking outside. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I did chop up a load of bits of stainless steel, good quality stainless steel, but it wasn't any good. And when I come across that, when I thought about that idea, when I was having a shave this morning, I thought, brilliant. So I think £13 sterling, and I've brought myself 100 high quality stainless steel razors, and that'll build a small generator for us. So in the coming weeks, that's what we'll do. We'll put the mist, you know, we'll get one of these atomizers, we'll get the mist coming out there. We'll put the electrolysis generator into the mist, so it goes through them tiny little veins. The good thing about razor blades is they're very thin. We can stack them up in a small region, and you know, we don't need a lot of energy to run a small generator. Again, all we're trying to do is find an efficient way of doing this. Now, you know what, guys, there are tens of thousands of people that have done experiments on hydrogen and oxygen generators, all with the dream, I guarantee you, of just coming up with that one idea that works, or works more efficient than any other, and therefore becomes, you know, the next way of you know, producing hydrogen and oxygen, the best, most effective way. You know, what I'm saying is, yes, I understand that there's probably 10,000 ways we can get this wrong, but we only need one right way to do it. Could you imagine? And I'm sure that anyone that has ever played with hydrogen generators, the dream and the reality of having a device that just requires the most abundant source that we have on this planet, the most abundant resource we have, water, to run it. That means tomorrow cars will run on it, your house will run on it, you'll be cooking on it, you know, and you won't need to be a very rich person to own a device that can make all that possible. Of course, it's going to annoy, to say the least, a lot of industries, because it would change the world tomorrow. You know, it makes us more independent in that sense. We are producing our own energy at the demand when we need it. Here's the big thing: if you think that it would, you know, you could then just grow your own food and you're self-sufficient with energy, self-sufficient with food, you know, all you got to worry about then is buying a house. It's not going to work out like that. Because you know, as well as I know, the government are parasites, and they require, they're vampires, aren't they? They require the blood. So all that would happen is that they would tax you in another area the same amount as what they was getting from the fuel you was buying, from the energy you was buying, from the gas you was buying. That's all they'll do. But you know what? It's nice because there are people around this world that would benefit from this technology right away. You know, they're not like us. In some parts of Africa, you know, they go to bed when the sun goes down because they've got no electricity. It's just they can't afford it. You know, it's unheard of. They've got no even wires in the house. You know, when the sun goes down, they generally go to sleep. If you could put a light bulb in that house and maybe provide enough energy to cook some food on, and maybe enough energy to power a radio, wow, can you imagine how much that would change life for a lot of people around the world? Bit of music, some food, and light so that you can see the person you're talking to. That would be pretty cool, I think. And you know what? We should already be giving these things to these, you know, our brothers and sisters all over this world. Should not be without those simple things. Yeah, it's the simple things that the greedy people in this world want to charge us the most for. And we're seeing that right now with the cost of living crisis in most of Europe, the UK, Canada, the United States, Brazil, you know, Colombia. It's poverty everywhere. So, you know, that's why I think it's worth investing a little bit of time. And I'm not bothered if it doesn't, nothing comes out of it, because I thrive on this, guys. I love building things like this and seeing whether you can improve them, whether you can get them a little bit better. So, you know, it's good all round. You're wondering, I know you are, when we're going to break out the SD card out of the Trimag system over there. We'll do it tomorrow for you. It's the first of the month, so we'll get the data out of the Trimag, and we'll get that processing. You might have seen in the last few videos at the top here, occasionally a red light flicking every 15 minutes. That's the magnetosphere. The SD card's not been in it, and I've got to I've got to re-upload the program to the electronics in there, because I think there's a bit of an error, or I might have to just replace the whole unit. I've got all the parts I need here to do that. That just means that we've lost, you know, a month or so's worth of data from that. But the TriMag is always working, and it's got an indicator on there. Every time it collects a packet of data, flashes one red light. Let me show you. I don't know if you can see it, just sat there in the background on top of the fridge with the antenna. Oh, you just saw that little flash there. Probably do it again in a minute. Anyway, it does flash every 3 seconds, and every time it flashes, it collects one more piece of data of the position of the magnetic North Pole and where it is. And that's taking the data from the other end of the building, down there, about 6 meters, 7 meters away in the loft space, clear and free from anything that can affect the magnetometers, and it transmits it back to that over there for us. So guys, I'll be back tomorrow with the latest position of the magnetic North Pole, because I'm sure you're all wondering what's going on with that, and I'll keep you informed with these little things that we're playing around with. So till then, I'll say what I usually do. Link down there if you want to help support us, and take care of your loved ones as always. Bye for now.